Billy Luna.
Scarfo personally drove Virgilio to the Flamingo Lounge in Atlantic City. Wearing a ski mask, the Blade entered and fired 5 shots into Helfont's face. On today's episode, I'm going to react to and break down the best parts of Skinny Joey Merlino's latest Patreon episode featuring famed music producer Scott Storch, including a story that Joey tells about the notorious Mafia killer, Nicholas "The Blade" Virgilio. In the conversation with Storch, Skinny Joey mentions a lot of people associated with the Mafia, but as usual, Joey doesn't elaborate. That's why you tune into my reaction breakdown videos, because I explain everything to you. I expound upon the people and situations relating to Cosa Nostra that Skinny touches on. Before I get into the story about Nicholas "The Blade" Virgilio that Skinny told Scott, I'm going to tell you more about who the Blade was. Later, I'm going to present a detailed breakdown of the infamous career of Scott Storch.
Please subscribe to the Billy Luna channel and like the video. Thank you.
Nicholas "The Blade" Virgilio. Born in South Philadelphia, The Blade was a convicted 3-time killer, bookmaker, and extortionist. The Blade stood 5'10" with a solid trim frame. He had a long, angular face and gray curly hair that he often wore in a pompadour. In prison, the Blade prided himself on doing 100 push-ups at a time and eating a clean diet. Nicknamed the Blade, Virgilio was quick with a switchblade and had a notorious temper. The reason that I created my YouTube channel was to use it as a platform to develop book, television, and film projects. If I was casting a movie about Nicholas "The Blade" Virgilio, I would cast Academy Award-winning actor Adrien Brody as the Blade. Brody is an incredible actor and bears a strong resemblance to the deadly Philly wise guy. At 22 years old, Nicholas "The Blade" Virgilio slapped around a 16-year-old female outside a bar in the then red light district at 13th and Locust Streets. A 19-year-old sailor named Glenn Long grabbed the Blade's hand to stop him. Virgilio flicked open a switchblade knife and plunged it repeatedly into the sailor's chest. Before sentencing Virgilio to 3 to 10 years in prison, Philadelphia judge Vincent A. Carroll said of him, "He ought to be whipped, forced to have his hair cut, and to shave off those sideburns." In the 1960s, Virgilio was a maitre d' in Atlantic City when he met Little Nicky Scarfo. Scarfo had been exiled to AC by Philly family boss Angelo Bruno. The Blade would become a trusted friend and associate of Scarfo and Skinny Joey Merlino's pop, Salvatore Merlino. The Blade later became one of Scarfo's bodyguards and top enforcers. Here's a rare photo of Nicky Scarfo and the Blade from the 1970s. In 1970, Virgilio pleaded no contest to killing New Jersey bricklayer Robert Welsh. The Blade thought the case was fixed after Edwin J. Helfont, an attorney and later judge, was given $6,000 by Nicky Scarfo to bribe another Superior Court judge so that the Blade would get a light sentence. Instead, Helfont kept the $6,000 and Virgilio got 15 years, not the lenient sentence that he and Scarfo had in mind. Judge Helfont had made a big mistake by crossing the Blade, but an even bigger mistake by crossing Little Nicky Scarfo. What the f was this guy thinking? On the very day that Scarfo was released from Yardville prison, Scarfo announced that he was going to kill Helfont. The fact that Helfont was a judge meant absolutely nothing to Little Nicky. Scarfo then put the murder on hold until the Blade got out of prison, because the Blade sent a message to Scarfo saying that Virgilio wanted to kill Helfont himself. Virgilio spent 6 long years in state prison, stewing over the double cross. To make matters worse, Helfont refused to return the money to Scarfo. This cat Helfont must have had a death wish. After the Blade was released on February 15th, 1978, Scarfo personally drove Virgilio to the Flamingo Lounge in Atlantic City. Wearing a ski mask, the Blade entered and spotted Helfont at the bar with his wife. The Blade stalked up to Helfont and fired 5 shots into Helfont's face. Virgilio made a quick exit. When the Blade arrived at his girlfriend's apartment later that evening after 9 p.m., he told his girl, quote, "I'm glad I was here since 8 p.m., unquote. In 1980, the Blade was deemed an unsavory character and blacklisted by the New Jersey Casino Control Commission. With Nicholas the Blade Virgilio's third murder, he made his bones, becoming a made guy in the Philadelphia Cosa Nostra family. One of Scarfo's first acts as the new boss of the Philly Mafia was to induct Virgilio into the secret society in May of 1982. In 1983, Virgilio was sentenced to 3 years in prison for shaking down several bars. Here is a rare photo of the Blade in prison with Carmine Persico, boss of the Colombo family. The tall guy in the center of the photo turned out to be a rat. During the historic 1988 trial of Nicky Scarfo and 15 others, the Blade steadfastly claimed his innocence. A jury found the Blade guilty of RICO charges. Nicholas the Blade Virgilio was a stand-up guy. The Blade died of a heart attack in prison at the age of 67 in 1995. He passed away whilst serving a 40-year sentence on federal racketeering charges for the murder of Judge Edwin J. Helfont and 2 extortions. Joey opens up his story about the Blade by saying that although Joey did prison time with the Blade at the Jersey State Prison in Leesburg, the Blade was more of a friend to Joey's father. Of course, Joey's father was Salvatore Merlino, former underboss of the Philadelphia Cosa Nostra family. Joey's father is often referred to as Chucky Merlino, but a little-known fact, in the old neighborhood, Joey's pop was better known as Sonny. Joey talks about Nicholas Virgilio's nickname, the Blade. Joey goes on to mention that Nick's son, who was a good friend of Joey's, was called the Penknife, and the Blade's nephew was called the Nail Clipper. When Joey speaks of Nicholas Virgilio's son, known as the Penknife, Joey is referring to Michael Virgilio. Joey said that the Blade was very superstitious. Joey said that the Blade was always like, don't touch this, don't touch that. Many psychologists believe that having and practicing superstitions is a form of obsessive-compulsive behavior. Joey said that he was behind the wall in general population in Leesburg prison. Joey says that Nick the Blade and Joe Crutch were in the camp. They call it the farm. This is a more cushy prison environment. When Joey refers to Joe Crutch, he means Joe Crutch Curo, another made man in the Philly Mafia who would eventually rise to the rank of consigliere. The Blade and Joe Crutch shared a cell in the farm. Joey says that they had a nice living situation. They had a refrigerator and a TV of their own. They received 40 pounds of food a month. Joey was finally moved from General Pop to the farm. One day, Joey, the Blade, and Joe Crutch were hanging out watching action news on TV. The Blade's son and Joey's good friend, Michael Virgilio, aka the Penknife, was on the lam for a violent incident that took place in a bar. In the news segment, Jim Gardner of Action News was doing a live location shoot about a politician at the South Philly hotspot, Palumbo's. I will finish breaking down Joey's story about the Blade, but first let me tell you a bit more about Palumbo's. The noted restaurant and nightclub Palumbo's in the Italian market section of South Philly originally opened in 1886 as a boarding house for Italian immigrants. In the 1940s and 1950s, Philadelphia was an important pop music center, with many bands and singers being made or broken in the city. Palumbo's later became a favorite haunt of Philadelphia politicians and a stage for big-name stars, including Frank Sinatra, Jimmy Durante, Louis Armstrong, and many other noted comics and performers. Sinatra visited the Black Tie Saloon frequently, and controversial Philadelphia mayor Frank Rizzo spent many evenings there. Anyway, back to Joey's story. Joey, Nick the Blade, and Joe Crutch were hanging out watching action news on TV. Joey asked the Blade about how his son and Joey's friend Michael, the Penknife, was doing. As I mentioned, the Blade's son was on the run from the law. The Blade tells Joey, "Michael's good. We have him stashed. They'll never find him." At that exact moment, Joey looks up at the newscast on TV. There's a politician at an event on a live feed from Palumbo's in South Philly. Suddenly, they see the Penknife walking behind the politician in the newscast. The Penknife is at Palumbo's working as a busboy, schlepping a tray full of dishes. Joey is like, "What the f***?" Scott Storch mentions to Joey that he has been to Palumbo's. Storch mentions that it burned down. Scott says that somebody lit a match. By using this phrase, Scott is referencing the arson scene in the film Goodfellas. A suspicious fire did in fact destroy Palumbo's in the 1990s. Joey and Storch then talk about some old classic restaurants in Philly. They touch on the amazing old school French restaurant Le Bec Fin, Bookbinders, Ishkabibbles on South Street for chicken cheesesteaks. Joey even mentions Tasty Cakes, a Pennsylvania mainstay treat. Man, I love me some Tasty Cakes. I grew up on that shit. Scott says that he and Joey used to cross paths back in the day in Philly. Scott mentions the nightclub Gotham on Delaware Avenue. Joey recalls being at Gotham on the night of a shooting and murder that took place at the Delaware Ave hotspot. Joey says that he was there on the night of the shooting with Allen Iverson of the 76ers. Scott says that he was also there that night. Let me tell you a little bit more about the deadly incident at Gotham nightclub that Scott and Skinny are referring to. On Thursday, November 20th, 1997, a star-studded birthday bash was thrown for the rapper Corrupt at Delaware Avenue nightclub Gotham. The party ended in tragedy as barrages of gunfire left a security guard dead and 2 clubgoers seriously wounded. The shooting capped a wild party celebrating the 25th birthday of Death Row Records rapper Corrupt, formerly a member of the Dog Pound with Snoop Dogg. VIPs such as Sixers guard Allen Iverson and alleged Philly Mafia boss Skinny Joey Merlino spent the night partying with popular rap acts, including rapper Luke, aka Luther Campbell of 2 Live Crew. At one point, members of the rap group Ram Squad pulled Skinny Joey Merlino onto the stage to honor the young alleged mafia boss during their set. Later, club security guard Antonio Tony Blackston was shot 13 times in the face, head, abdomen, and hips. He later succumbed to his wounds. Stay tuned to the Billy Luna channel for a deep dive into this infamous shootout on Delaware Avenue. Who is Joey's guest on this podcast? Scott Spencer Storch. Scott Storch rose to prominence in the 2000s as a music producer, known for crafting chart-topping hits and collaborating with some of the biggest names in the industry. His journey, spanning from the East Coast to Los Angeles, was marked by early successes with Philly band The Roots and later breakthroughs with Dr. Dre's 2001 album, where his keyboard skills shone on tracks like Still D.R.E. Storch's career reached new heights between 2003 and 2005 when he became a super producer, contributing to hits like Justin Timberlake's Cry Me a River, Fat Joe's Lean Back, and 50 Cent's Candy Shop, among others. Scott tells Skinny Joey that his best song was Chris Brown's first song, the #1 hit, Run It, recorded when Brown was only 16 years old. Is your man on the floor? If he ain't, let me know. Run it, run it. I really dig that song. I first heard it back in the day when I was in Amsterdam. However, my favorite Scott Storch song is Make It Rain with Fat Joe and the Terror Squad featuring Lil Wayne. Yeah, I'm in this bitch with the terror. Got a handful of stacks, better grab an umbrella. I'll make it rain. I'll make it rain on them hoes. I'll make it rain. That's a great banger. Scott Storch's distinct sound, blending rap and R&B elements, dominated the airwaves, propelling him to immense wealth and global recognition. However, Storch's rapid ascent was accompanied by a lavish lifestyle fueled by extravagant spending and substance abuse. His addiction to white powder spiraled out of control, leading to reckless spending of millions of dollars on drugs within a short period. Despite attempts to maintain productivity through grueling workdays, his addiction inevitably affected the quality of his work and strained professional relationships. By 2009, Storch recognized the need for help and entered rehab, marking the beginning of his journey toward recovery. Post-rehab, Storch attempted to revive his career, but his comeback was met with challenges. While he continued to produce music, including tracks for artists like Maya, Snoop Dogg, and Britney Spears, he struggled to regain his former success. Financial troubles compounded his difficulties, culminating in a robbery in 2013 that further depleted his resources. By 2015, Storch's career had stalled, with no significant hits since the mid-2000s and failed ventures into EDM. Despite his faded celebrity status, his impact on the music industry remains significant, particularly his contributions to hip-hop and R&B during his prime years. Storch's story serves as a cautionary tale, highlighting the dangers of excess and addiction in the entertainment industry. However, amidst the challenges, Storch's resilience shines through. Despite setbacks, he remains determined to reclaim his place in the music industry and rebuild his financial stability. His journey underscores the possibility of redemption and the enduring power of creativity and ambition, even in the face of adversity.
Billy Luna. Please subscribe to the Billy Luna channel and like the video. Thank you.